Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena Kaufman and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive. What's the difference between chiropractic care and neurofeedback, EMDR, OT, PT, speech pathology, all of these things? We are trying to figure that out. So most families are piecing together that it takes a village, right? It takes a good team to make it all work. But what truly is the difference between some of these like nervous system hacking trending words that we're hearing on social media and what chiropractic can do for you? And Dr. Serena just actually met with someone who is like an expert in this field. So I'm super excited to hear what she has to say about this.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of two big categories here because you mentioned PT and OT. And let's set those aside for now and save those for different, because that could be a whole day conversation. That would be really good. And let's focus on other modalities that are focused on brain health. So neurofeedback, EMDR. And I actually just met with a really cool clinical psychologist, Ellen, who is in the Treasure Valley area. And so if you're interested in her care, let me know. She does virtual stuff. So she and I nerded out. Let's just give a background. So we were at dinner together. So our husbands met at this entrepreneurship event and then decided we would probably really get along. So we had them over for dinner. And then when we followed up and they had us for dinner, Ellen and I started talking. And I explained that my goal and your goal, Dr. Veronica, in starting this podcast and starting our practices is to help our communities by getting to the root and helping pre-conception and during conception to prevent these perfect storms that we kind of talked about in our last episodes. So she was just awestruck because her goal as a clinical psychologist is to get a hold of couples before they are trying to start conceiving, to remove this trauma and these emotional stressors before they conceive, to improve outcomes for their children. And both of us just got shivers. Like, wow, this is like, we're trying to serve the same people. And so then we had lunch to kind of sort out, what does it look like? What are the benefits of chiropractic and the benefits of counseling or psychology? And how are they impacting the brain? And so she's had courses on EMDR, neurofeedback, and she's come back to her roots in face-to-face counseling, right? She wants to sit with you face-to-face and get to the root of your nervous system dysfunction on an emotional level. Like, where did that start and where did that begin? Because in her mind, healing starts with relationships, right? And so sitting in front of you to build a relationship and to understand where parts of your relationships and how you connect with people broke down, that's a root of a lot of dis-ease and emotional turmoil in people. And that's true across the board with other providers I've talked about. And so I asked her, okay, you're very knowledgeable about neurofeedback EMDR. And once I explained to her what chiropractic is doing, which you can go back to our first episode to understand that more, I explained that process. And she says, that's fascinating. And she would say EMDR, neurofeedback are working on the cortex level, right? So they're organizing thoughts, right? They're taking back memories and pulling them forward and using the two hemispheres of your brain on the outside, the shell, the cortex, to reconnect things and resort and restore memories. But it's not working on the level of the amygdala.
I was like, we're missing it. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm tracking.
Yeah. So great for reorganizing past things, but it's not turning off the down brain. It's not turning off the protector, fight or flight mode necessarily. And so what we kind of concluded is, okay, it would be really cool if like the perfect patient, right? It's like, I'm ready to have a baby, but I want to sort some stuff out before we start trying. And it's like, I have a lot of emotional trauma, or I don't. Ellen will probably say, let's chat and see. As a couple, she wants to see couples. And she's going to sort out, okay, where is this trauma and stress coming from? Like what's coming up over and over again, creating a noisy brain on the emotional side. and what is deeply rooted from your past. And then let's come to chiropractic. And once we've kind of assessed what's going on, chiropractic is going to get that person out of this fight or flight mode. But can we talk about feelings optimally and in a regulated manner when we're stuck in fight or flight? No.
I was just going to say it's really cool, and I'm honestly maybe you can even answer this for me because I am having this with certain patients who I can tell have been through a little bit more than they're, like, sharing with me. Like, I have someone going through an infertility journey, and she comes to my office, and she just, like, falls apart, which is, like and I do not say that as a bad thing. I, like, applaud this, right? Because it's like, I
Mhm.
know she's processing and she's going through it, and then I have another patient going through the same journey who's like, "I'm fine. I'm doing good." And it's like I cannot I mean, I have scans, I have the temperature checks, I have all these things, but I still feel like for me, there's a missing piece because it's like I'm not getting symptoms. I'm not we look at our neurofeedback, which we haven't chatted about, but like essentially this chart that we have in our office to say like, okay, if we're dealing with this symptom, check out this area of the nervous system. I almost feel like I'm going on a scavenger hunt because she is so disconnected from her emotions, from her bodies, from her symptoms. She is going through therapy, and so we get to kind of as she's like revealing these layers in therapy, I'm also getting a little bit more information and details from her on like the awareness that she has on her body. I will say she has a very, very, very traumatic instance that she went through when she was a teenager. And so I know that's where a lot of this is stemming from is that dissociation. But it is very interesting. And I'm still trying to figure out like, is it better for her to unpack and then get adjusted or by like should she continue, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the
Mhm.
journey that I'm going on as a chiropractor, honestly, who is partnering with another like it's so funny that you have a person because I also have a fabulous Dr. Val at Clearbrook and Ankeny is fabulous and very much in alignment with nervous system health. And it's like we're trying to figure out what optimally looks like for a patient to walk through both of the care that we can provide because it really is so important on both ends.
Mhm. Yeah. I have found from one other patient, she was coming to me after her therapy sessions, like right after, like it was Tuesdays are like her self care day.
Mm,
And what she was finding is that even my gentle tonal touch base adjustments on her neck were causing huge migraines.
mm,
And she finally figured out that going from processing a lot of emotional stress to an adjustment that's probably that might be even physically processing that emotional stress through the adjustment was too much for her system.
mm.
And so that's probably something that everyone's going to be a little different on.
Yeah.
But I do think there's going to be a beautiful dance in address the emotional stress, release the emotional stress. And then as we're releasing emotional stress and getting your body to an adaptable state where we're turning the mom on, the organizer, the processor, then the cognitive therapy is going to shine even brighter. And
Mhm,
it's going to be like this really beautiful juggle, I would
mhm,
say. And I think neurofeedback and EMDR have a place,
mm,
but usually parents who are asking me about this are asking about ADHD and anxiety. And in my mind, and this is my chiropractic lens, like those things are because your child is stuck in fight or flight. And EMDR and neurofeedback aren't getting you unstuck from fight or flight, right? So let's get you unstuck. And if there's some cleanup to do afterwards, great. I searched the archives for conversations in our PX community, and someone asked Dr. Tony Ebel about neurofeedback EMDR, and he said he has interviewed the top providers in his area. He's dug deep in the research, and for him, he's found that it often isn't moving the needle in the way that parents would like it to, the way that chiropractic can move the needle for these parents seeking help for their kiddos.
mhm,
And so, as we're probably always going to say, chiropractic first, right? Get the body out of fight or flight, which you can't remove physical stress from the nervous system if you're only operating on the cortex.
mhm.
Right? Yeah.
You're just organizing, like, I'm picturing, like, a dirty laundry basket. You're just you're folding the clothes, but you didn't wash it out. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
That's helpful for me too because it's like I know that we both are providing a lot of value for our patients, but I am trying to figure out like should I have them go through this repair and restore process first and then go? So it's like I just want the listeners to know we are actively always trying to learn and grow and continue. Like I feel like that's the thing about PX even that is not even talked about a lot is that when we become pediatric experience certified, you, like, realize that you don't know what you don't know even more than you did, like, we went through 4 almost 4 years of school to know nothing and then know a lot of things, to then unlearn some things and then relearn what we wanna actually learn about, right? So it's like, it doesn't surprise me that we operate so much differently than a lot of people in any profession really, because we're constantly on this growth and journey of, "Okay, how can I learn more about this very, very complex system in a way that I can simplify it and apply it on a day-to-day, very, like, digestible journey for both me and my patients." So,
I'm constantly overwhelmed by how much I don't know. And I have my doctorate. I have
right,
PX is this postdoctoral program that like I'm in the process of finishing. You have finished it. And now it's just overwhelming. I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot. And then I'll get a new case. I'm like, okay, they don't know this, but I'm gonna go home and do some homework because I don't know what I don't know about this.
right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the cool thing is that the tying factor of no matter what it is you're bringing to the office is the nervous system. So we can always come back to the root cause and as long as I mean, we don't even have to as doctors. I think this is just for our own knowledge just so that we can like better support in the future and be prepared. But technically, as long as we just know how to release it, we don't that's all like,
Yeah.
that's all we need to be doing. But we just
Yes.
want to understand and see you and connect with you in a way that makes sense for our brains too, and so that's kind of like that extra layer of like, we see you, we get you, and we're doing the work so that we can, show up for you.
Yeah. I have a really cool story. So this will tie in the PT side of things, like other types of modalities to try to solve root cases. And I've gotten a crop of other referrals from a running physical therapist recently, a craniosacral therapist. I've gotten referral from just a pediatric PT, and then gosh, someone else. And it's all the same trend of like, hey, my patients aren't improving. I'm noticing this trend of a lot of emotional stress on top of the physical stress that I'm trying to take care of. And then these types of providers aren't typically getting into the chemical stress, but they're noticing emotional dysregulation. And they're thinking, okay, I think in order for this patient to improve, there's going to need to be some nervous system help here. And they're
Mm,
sending them to me.
mm,
And my best example of this that we've kind of seen the whole process through, because I have a lot of these that were in the middle of the process. 5-month-old baby boy had been working with a PT, a pediatric PT who's wonderful here in Georgia Valley, and torticollis basically since birth.
mm,
And so if baby has torticollis, like this muscle right here is cinched down essentially. To chiropractors, we're like birth trauma, mom is pretty stressed in pregnancy, probably, and now they're going to start missing their milestones, right? So, in this hierarchical pyramid of healing, I hope we can see this. Yeah. We
on
have the
YouTube, they can.
we have the
She's making a
foundation.
triangle.
Yeah. We have the foundation of the nervous system as we're developing. That's the first thing to develop is our nervous system in utero. It's developing 3 weeks post conception. And that's kind of our body's primary concern in development. And then where the next phase shines, the motor development, that's what we're noticing and watching develop after baby is born, right? Can they lift their head up? Can they roll? Can they sit up? Can they crawl? Can they walk? And then we have our gut immune system next. And our gut immune system that matures after toddlerhood, right? So if that gives you an idea of our motor coordination systems mature in toddlerhood, and then our gut immune system matures after toddlerhood. And then we have the higher level thinking, executive function. This is where we're seeing a tip of the iceberg of ADHD, autism, anxiety, that kind of stuff.
Mm,
So, baby boy, PT was working on the motor coordination, and she's Carlos was really slow. He had really bad asymmetry of his head and his cranial bones because he had been cinched down on one side, and then they were noticing, okay, he's not meeting his rolling milestones like we would like him to. And this PT is beautiful and wonderful in that she cares a lot about motor milestones. She's not going to skip crawling. She's
mm,
not going to skip properly walking. And she wants this baby boy to roll both ways symmetrically, perfectly. And he wasn't getting there. And so she said, okay, I want you to go see a chiropractor. Here's Dr. Serena. And let me tell you, in 2 weeks, she called me back and she says, Dr. Serena, I don't know what you're doing, but this boy has excelled in the last 2 weeks compared to the progress that we were seeing before he started care with you.
Mm.
And I almost cried because I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that was so cool. But by like really simple adjustments of removing the stress from his system so that his brain was regulated, right? There wasn't a bunch of noise and it could tell the motor system to fire properly, right? Releasing physical stress. That was physical subluxation, preventing like full range of motion is one, right? That's one side. That allows like, full range of motion and full signaling and communication from our body to our brain. So our brain can send the right information back down to our body, helps reduce noise in our brain so that we can be adaptable and motor neuron balanced. Anyway, that's probably like the most pure example is do the nervous system work at the foundation first and then let the PTs, the OTs, the other therapies shine, right?
Mm.
Because that's what's really cool about my job. I get to set the foundation, and then when I refer to a PT, they look so good. And I am happy to make them shine in their job because they have no interference with what they're trying to do, right?
Mhm.
Once I removed interference, they get to connect the dots for that baby's neuromuscular system and see them just shoot for the stars.
Yeah, and I think from a parent perspective of like, "Oh, man, I'm gonna go through all this and still might have to see another provider," it's like, think about if you had started elsewhere, how you would be seeing that provider for much longer with a lot less progress and a lot more frustration, whereas you are investing in this care and this time and this energy and this intention with chiropractic care to set them up for success no matter where you go next. If you have to go anywhere next, right? It's like no matter what, at some point or another, you are going to have to deal with the lack of dysfunction in the nervous system no matter what route you go, right? Either supplements, PTOT, EMDR, like we started this conversation with, right? It's no matter what direction you go, the nervous system is what's going to say, like, yes, I can take this information and do something with it. Or it's going to say, I'm so stressed out that I am not even listening to anything that you're telling me to do. Right. And so, starting with chiropractic care, you're setting yourself up for success in any capacity. And I also want to include that, like, having to go to another provider doesn't mean that we're not making the progress or that something's wrong. It just means we're ready for another layer in which you're going to succeed in because we've set that foundation for you.
To tie all of that up into a nice little bow, I'm not anti anything. Dr. Veronica isn't. PX doctors aren't anti any other modality, but we are pro sequence and pro foundation in healing.
Stay tuned where we are going to talk about behavior. Is it really behavior or is it the nervous system? This really is a big, big question that we hear. Actually, I just talked to someone the other day about how important it is to get your nervous system online if you are dealing with behavior, because most of the time, it's not that you're doing a bad job or that your kiddo is insane. It's because they are just stressed and overwhelmed and overstimulated. We'll go into this, but really, behavior is like a ton of brain power at the same time going on. So we'll break that down and we'll chat about that next time.
And I'll pray us out real quick. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity for Dr. Veronica and I to really dive deep into how we can serve people best and to our full potential and for other providers to shine in these careers so that people can live their life the way you designed them to live. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz.
And Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.